There's a really funny sitcom about politics in Washington about the vice president of the United States, the first woman to hold that job, except it's not called Veep. It doesn't star Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and the main character's name is not Selena Meyer. It stars Kamala Harris, playing Kamala Harris. And if you've got a mean sense of humor, it's really funny. For everybody else, not so much. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Veep. No, wait, this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, this occurred to me when I saw this Axios story just on Monday of this week, that Kamala Harris insiders, supporters of hers, are complaining about the big job that Joe Biden, the alleged president, has given her to fix the crisis down on the border. And the headline quote in this story was, her friends think the border crisis was, and I quote, a Essie assignment. They didn't say Essie, because the president doesn't want to do it himself. I think it's even worse, folks. The crisis on the border is engineered. It's a crisis by design. There was no crisis like this when Trump was president. There was a crisis like this when Obama was president. Boom, Biden's in office. The crisis is back. So, Scott, let me ask you something. When you send somebody to fix a problem that you created and don't actually want solved, what in fact is it you've done to that person?
Well, I like to start anything like this by assuming the best possible motives in anybody, even people who disagree with me.
Let me interrupt for a moment. We're dealing with Democrats. That's not going to fly.
The utility of sending a Kamala Harris is that she has the patina of prestige of the office, of the executive office, that is, but she has none of its power. And so if you are shrewd in negotiating, you send somebody like Kamala Harris into that situation to float trial balloons, to sound people out, to bring back intelligence from, discussions with players in the game, so to speak, to figure out some options that maybe have not been considered before without risking your own prestige, that of the presidency itself, in the course of doing so. And so you could do this as a very shrewd way of opening channels of communication and trying to find new solutions to a problem that's existed for a long time and that nobody's been able to really find a solution to. I'm not going to say that that's what that President Biden is doing this. It's hard to tell exactly what this White House is doing, or frankly, what any White House is doing. I can understand because, I have the expertise of having watched many TV shows that are made up situations about stuff that happens around the White House. And so I know that the staff of the vice president is always at odds with the staff of the president because I watch The West Wing. And so I know this happens. But by the way, The West Wing, that TV show, was filled with consultants that were former Clinton administration officials who would propose ideas and review scripts and things like that. So they were always credited in the credits for the show. But anyway, I can see you could do that in a useful way, and I can see you can do that in another way to just basically diminish your vice president so that she poses no threat to you, especially to a president who is a seasoned citizen and in the September or perhaps November of his years, and you want to kind of tamp down any prospects of your vice president becoming a viable candidate for the presidency in the very next presidential cycle.
He's not in the November of his years. He's in the February of next year, for God's sake.
You may be right to kind of back up this pet theory of mine that the Biden White House doesn't really like Kamala Harris too much. They sent her down to Guatemala to address the root cause of the border crisis. What gets me about this, though, is nothing's changed in Guatemala. Nothing changed there. The only thing that changed was the occupant of the White House and the vice president's mansion on the Naval Observatory grounds on January 20th of this year. So if you want to address the root cause of this crisis, you don't go to Guatemala, you go to the Oval Office. So number one, it's mission impossible. Number two, Bill, Harris has been given 5 other jobs by the Biden administration. I want to run these winners by you. She's also in charge of voting rights, which I assume means getting H.R. 1 through the House and the Senate. It's a dead letter in the Senate. That's like, here, Sisyphus, push this rock for a little while. I'll get back to you. She has to take a vaccine tour. We're not quite sure what that is, but now that we've got more than half the country vaccinated, who knows what it is? She's been in charge, put in charge of space, which I don't even know. And also a pro-union task force. Private sector unionization is like this and not coming back. Along with, she's also been put in charge of rural broadband, a job that Elon Musk has taken on and is doing a pretty good job getting the beta going with Starlink. Bill, I'm just going to ask you, and I'm going to use a historical reference here, which one of these jobs that Joe Biden has given Kamala Harris is worth more than a bucket of warm spit?
We watched, well, first of all, I don't attribute Joe Biden with shrewdness of any kind. And what's indisputable is during the entire campaign and so far during his administration, it has been the Biden-Harris administration. That's how it's been marketed many times on the campaign trail. Joe Biden referred to her as President Harris and so on and so on and so on. So if there was ever an election that had the vice presidency pretty much in the chamber, just ready to lock the bolt down, that this is the one. I'm not aware of another one that was where people expected that there was zero chance that the president was going to serve 4 years. And I think that's pretty widely known. So now the question is, if that's how this whole thing was marketed, and if Kamala Harris, right? Yes, thank you. Yeah. If she were actually holding some power, and her supporters were holding some power, then who would benefit by her being taken down a peg or two or 18? And the only answer I can come up with is Jill Biden.
Bingo. That's
what I come up with. Jill Biden. The person who would lose if Joe Biden is set on his Viking craft, thank you for your service, that kind of thing. Then the person who's behind the scenes pulling a lot of the strings, the person who would suffer would be Joe Biden. If Joe Biden is no longer president, Joe Biden has zero power and influence. But Jill Biden strikes me as a person who's not above doing any number of things, and this is a pretty simple way to do it. The president can order the vice president to go empty that bucket of warm spit if that's what he decides. And I suspect that this is a move on the part of Jill Biden to provide some retirement insurance. We used to say assassination insurance, because the vice president was worse than the president. I think she's out there providing some retirement insurance by making whatever shine Kamala Harris might have had diminish. And I just think it bears mentioning that this woman came in last in a field of 8 in her home state. This is not a mountain of Christmas. She's a terrible candidate, and she will be a terrible president. But this was how it was sold to us. And I think Joe Biden here's the short form is, I think Joe Biden is putting stakes in the ground to keep Joe Biden in office as long as possible, maybe for 4 years.
Bill, just a couple of quick things. One, please refer to Jill Biden by either one of her proper titles, either Dr. Jill Biden or Edith Wilson 2.0. And
that's correct. That's exactly correct.
Our folks
and for those of our friends who are not so much of a historical background, for at least 18 months, probably 2 years of his presidency, Woodrow Wilson was utterly incapacitated, and his wife, Edith Wilson, the first lady, ran the country.
Indeed, she did. The difference is, and I think Woodrow Wilson was actively the worst president we ever had. The worst passive president we ever had was Buchanan. But Wilson was so actively bad that I'm not saying anything good about him. But the guy had a stroke, and his wife, because there was no 25th Amendment at the time, his wife stepped up and kept things going. All right, fine. What Dr. Jill Biden is doing is actually worse, because she put her infirm president into this situation on purpose.
That's it.
She didn't step up when her husband got sick. She pushed an old doddering man into the White House, which is far beyond his capabilities. Bill and Scott said most of what I wanted to say, but there is one more thing I would like to add, and that's this. You know, we used to joke before the election, or excuse me, before the swearing in, when Kamala's cabal would 25th Amendment Joe out the door. Would she wait 2 years and 1 day so that she could serve 2 full terms after serving slightly less than 2 years as acting president? Would she do it sooner and say, you know, oh, no, I'll do it right now as soon as I can and all that? But as I watch this unfold, I'm starting to think the likelihood of Joe Biden getting 25th Amendmented out of office is much less likely than Kamala Harris getting Spiro Agnewed out of office, just like Nixon did to his vice president when he wanted to distract from Watergate. Bill, did you were you waving your finger there?
No. I just thought that's dead on the money, man.
So we will see how this all plays out. As always, it's a lot of fun, provided you have that sixth sense of humor. And let me tell you, these next 3.5 years, we're going to need it. That's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks so much for your support. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.